Hello and good morning, everyone. This is Fahadja. I'm head of marketing at Adam Global. This is the second episode of our recently started series of webinars. Our previous webinar was about corporate tax compliance in UAE. Our today's webinar is about anti-money laundering compliance in UAE. The objective of these webinars is to educate people about the regulations, business regulations in UAE, so that they can focus more on their core activities and they can scale up their businesses with peace of mind. So the topic of our today's webinar, as you can see, is anti-money laundering compliance in UAE. I'm Fahad Zia. I'm head of marketing in Adam Global. Our today's speakers are Mr. Chandy Joseph, who is Senior Director Corporate Sales at Adam Global, and Chinar Jetwani, who is Chief Compliance Officer at Adam Global. Mr. Chandy Joseph has 16 years experience in company formation, corporate sponsorship services, corporate PRO services, advisory services on entity structures and investment mode and company liquidation services. He has successfully led his teams to provide quality deliverables on a timely basis. He has extensive experience of company formation for sectors such as commercial services, healthcare, automobile, education, oil and gas, manufacturing, investment, transportation, financial services, print and electronic media, etc. Chandy has helped many companies to identify the right jurisdiction to establish the company. He has also provided a detailed comparative study report for the investors to choose the ideal option for business growth. He has helped many leading companies to establish and expand the business operations by providing corporate PRO services. I will request Mr. Chandy Joseph to introduce Adam Global Insight and Adam Global Services to our today's participants.
Very good
Over to
morning,
yeah.
everyone. Very good morning, everyone, and thank you, Fagat, for the introduction and welcome you all to this knowledge section. It is my honor and privilege to be the part of this section today to give you a brief introduction about who we are. Adam Global was established in the year 2002 by Dr. Tahir Akhtar. Dr. Tahir Akhtar is a qualified and accredited healthcare professional from UK and established Adam Global with the vision of being the global provider of quality services by accredited and regulated professionals. Today, with the pride, I can say that Adam Global is a leading award-winning global corporate service provider, having the legacy of 22 years, headquartered in United Kingdom and serving customers from 5 continents through 200 plus partner offices. We have 520 professionals taking care of various verticals of corporate services. And I'm proud to say that we have successfully served more than 15,000 customers worldwide. Moreover, we are ranked among top 50 SMEs in 2013 by Department of Economic Development and also ranked number one business advisor by CEO Clubs. Next slide, please. Adam Global offers services in 6 core verticals. It includes market entry, under which we offer company incorporation services in mainland, free zone, offshore, company liquidation services, corporate PRO services, and market entry and market feasibility study as well. Under our second vertical, which is compliance or legal services, under which we offer corporate secretarial services, ESR regulations, AML services, and so on. Under our third vertical, which is HR services, we offer WPS services, payroll services, SOPs, policy drafting, and so on. Under IP, under intellectual property vertical, we offer trademark, patent, design, and copyright registration, IP serves, renewals, and annuities services, and so on. Under the vertical of taxation, we offer VAT registration, corporate tax registration, tax agent, tax refund, tax consultancy, and so on. Under the vertical of auditing and accounting services, we offer external audit, internal audit, monthly, quarterly, and yearly accounting services, due diligence, account manager services, and so on. So with that note, let's move to the next section and over to you, Mr. Fagan. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Chandy Joseph. This was Chandy Joseph. Now I would like to invite Ms. Chinar Jetwani. Ms. Chinar Jetwani is a corporate lawyer and a compliance expert with over a decade of professional background, working with a wide array of companies spanning diverse sectors like pharmaceuticals, FMCGs, non-banking financial companies, and others. Her work has extended to companies operating in India, Singapore, and UAE. She brings substantial experience in acting as an independent director for publicly traded and listed Indian companies and contributing as a legal advisory committee member for the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Chinar's specific areas of proficiency encompass corporate and general law, corporate compliance, and intellectual property rights. Welcome, Chinar Jitwani. Over to Chinar.
Thank you, Fahad. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar focused on an essential aspects of compliance in UAE, which is anti-money laundering regulations, commonly known as AML regulations. Today, our aim is to create awareness about applicability of AML regulations and their compliance by identified entities, including real estate agents, gold and precious metals dealers, and a few more. So, throughout our session, we'll go through the basic principles of AML regulations, their applicability, important aspects of compliance, and consequences of non compliance thereof. This will be beneficial to understand how AML will affect your business in UAE, why it is important for the businesses here, how to avoid billions of dirhams of penalties by complying with AML regulations, and many more. So, as we are already having a limited time frame, let's begin with the presentation. A table which is presented here showcases a summary of newsletters issued by the Ministry of Economy in UAE from time to time, indicating the penalties charged to various entities for non-compliance of anti-money laundering regulations. As you can see, the summarized table of non-compliances by various entities. I can take you through a few of them, and you can also refer to all of the newsletters which are there available on the official website of Ministry of Economy of UAE. So one of them, the latest one newsletter, which states that 50 companies were suspended with their operations. Their operations were suspended for 3 months upon failure to register in GoML system. This company's operations were suspended latest in August 2023. Prior to that, in May 2023, 137 companies in UAE were penalized with a fine of 65.9 million dirhams for violating over 831 provisions of anti-money laundering regulations. And there have been multiple and several instances where companies belonging to gold and precious metals dealers and real estate sectors for different violations of AML regulations. The point here is, if all such entities were aware of what AML regulations are all about, they are having such applicability of compliance with AML regulations, and non-compliance with such regulations would result in such hefty fines and penalties along with affecting their market reputations that could have probably saved themselves being penalized for their non-compliance. To make sure that such instance of non-compliance doesn't happen with any one of you, let's understand the meaning of money laundering, anti-money laundering, and important provisions of AML regulations and the compliances thereof. To take you forward, the meaning of money laundering, what money laundering means. Money laundering is a process of hiding the source of money obtained from illegal sources and converting it to a clean source with a view to avoiding prosecution or conviction of the criminal funds. There can be multiple ways of money laundering, including smurfing or structuring. It can be done through gambling or laundering money into the gaming casinos or laundering money to acquiring real estate properties, purchasing gold, or round tripping of money. People also launder their money for formation of shell companies. Now, to prevent all such activities, we have anti-money laundering regulations in UAE, which again, I would say that which is commonly known as AML regulation, which refers to a set of regulations and practices aimed at preventing these illegal processes of making dirty money appearing clean or legal. So AML is not just domestically existing in UAE, but it is a global concern that helps combat various financial crimes, including money laundering, financial terrorism, and fraud. So in UAE, AML compliance is governed by a series of laws and regulations to ensure the financial system remains secure and trustworthy. Next slide, please. Let's understand which are the sectors that have AML applicability. In UAE, when you are having all such business activities which are categorically specified as the businesses falling under DNFBPs. DNFBPs stands for businesses having designated businesses falling under non-financial businesses and services. So these are the sectors which have AML applicability, which includes real estate agents, dealers in precious metals and stones, accountants and auditors, trusts and corporate service providers, lawyers, and legal practitioners. If any one of you are having any such business activities, then you are the one who are having to follow the compliance of AML regulations. Next slide, please. I'll take you through the brief introduction of important provisions of AML regulations. AML regulations comprises of a few provisions which are mandatory to be followed by the designated companies. First one is to designate or appoint a compliance officer. The compliance officer would be responsible for overall AML compliance, including implementation of policies and procedure to regulate AML monitoring activities, who would be responsible to take care of all kind of suspicious transactions and everything. Second is to perform KYC, CDD, and EDD wherever required. I'll take you through the all such terminologies in the subsequent slides. So know your customer terminologies, customer due diligence procedures. EDD stands for enhanced due diligence. This one is also one of the important provisions of AML regulation. Next one comes is to establish policies, procedures, and to ensure the implementation thereof. Then to develop internal controls such as risk assessment, due diligence, transaction monitoring, submission of various reports, etc. Then what all these reports would include: filing of reports such as suspicious activity reports, suspicious transaction reports. When an entity is involved into real estate transactions, then the entity has to submit REAR, which is real estate activity report. When the entity is engaged into the business of gold and precious metals, that has to submit DPMSR, dealers in precious metals and stones report, compliance report, and many more. Then to establish training programs, to have internal trainings for all the employees of the company. This is also one of the major provision and important provision of anti-money laundering regulations in UAE. And to implement independent audits and reviews wherever required. Next slide, please. There are some basic practices in AML compliance implementation, which are often used in day-to-day practices, wherein one of them is KYC, which is often known as Know Your Customer or Client, which is a process that involves verifying customer or prospective customers' identities. This can be applied to both individual and corporate users and businesses. Customer due diligence is a set of ongoing processes designed to assess the customer risk profile. It is majorly related with assessing the risk profile of the customer, risk category of the customer. So it gathers sufficient information regarding a customer to enable it to assess the potential anti-money laundering risks that the customer may possess. So in the context of AML, KYC is often used interchangeably with the CDD, but there is one thin line difference that KYC is a process of collecting identity documents or verifying customers' identity details before starting the business relationship, whereas customer due diligence is a continuous process that assesses customers' risk profile throughout the entire business relationship. Next slide, please. Then comes EDD, which is known as enhanced due diligence. Now, EDD goes beyond CDD, and the purpose of enhanced due diligence is to establish a higher level of identity assurance by obtaining customers' further details for identity addresses and evaluating its detailed risk category for the customer. So enhanced due diligence is a process that provides a greater level of scrutiny of potential clients and higher risk that highlights the risk profile, which cannot be detected just by undergoing the customer due diligence. This is what ED is. Then another terminology is PEP, politically exposed persons. So politically exposed persons are the people who have political powers, who can exercise their influence to carry out business activities and other administrative roles at their discretion. So by virtue of these positions, they are arguably having more susceptible to bribery or corruptions, and they have more powers to use the state's funds or country's funds. Therefore, they possess to have higher risk of money laundering. As a result, additional obligations such as performing enhanced due diligence typically apply whenever an entity or company is dealing with the politically exposed persons. Let us understand, whenever a company or any entity who is having applicability of complying with the AML compliances, AML regulations, what are the sanctions and what are the fines or penalties that the company has to face in case of non-compliance or violations. So the regulations provide that the penalty for individuals is between 1 and 10 years of imprisonment or a fine between 100,000 dirhams to 5 million dirhams. And penalty for the companies is a fine of 500,000 dirhams to 50 million dirhams. The important thing to have emphasis here is the law also specifies sanctions against the companies, their managers, and their employees in case of individual responsibilities. One more thing, that the entity can also have suspensions or termination of their business operations or licenses for a specific period of time in case of a specific instance. Then it is not just the case that AML regulations are just applicable here in UAE or just in any specific region, but AML compliance is an ongoing monitoring, an international monitoring. It's applicable all over the world. We have taken a few instances where very well-known multinational companies and multinational international organizations have been fined and penalized with large amount of penalties for violating anti-money laundering regulations. The first one is Westpac, that is Australian organization, which has paid the highest amount of penalty for violation of anti-money laundering regulations. The penalty is highest so far. So Westpac permitted 23 million breaches of AML regulations and counter-terrorism funding rules. That's actual instances of breaches and not the total value, which amounted to nearly $11 billion. They failed to report and keep records of international transfers, some of which were linked to child exploitation in Southeast Asia. In 2020, Westpac was fined with $920 million, which was equivalent to 1.3 billion Australian dollar. HSBC, again, very well-known major bank that faced sanctions in the 1990s for conducting businesses with countries on the sanctions list. So there have been a sanction list which keeps on updating with whatsoever amendments that UN sanction list keeps upon releasing with. In 2017, the bank admitted to inadequate anti-money laundering controls, leading to a $1.9 billion fine and 5 years independent monitoring. Next slide, please. Standard Chartered has also met with instances of violations of AML regulations. It faced issues with AML practices since 2004. The bank violated AML regulations in 2012 and was fined with $1.1 billion. In 2019, they were found to have broken sanctions with various illegal transactions from sanctioned countries like Iran, Libya, Sudan, Burma, and Cuba. And the total amount involved in this was $600 million. In 2012, they were penalized with $670 million, but failed to fix their AML processes and leading to further fines. One more, N26, which is a German bank company. This was penalized with $5 million for failing to file a higher number of suspicious transactions report. N26 had already been cautioned by BaFin and assigned a special commissioner to oversee compliance with KYC and AML rules. So this proves that AML compliance is not just existing in UAE, but it is an international monitoring prevailing all over the world and has serious implications everywhere.
Okay, thank you very much, Nar. That was a very insightful overview about anti-money laundering compliance. So I have been receiving different questions about the topic through emails. So I would request you to entertain a few. So I've tried to club multiple questions into few so that they can cover a maximum questions that are popping up in the minds of our participants. So one of these questions are, you have mentioned DNFBPs, and in your presentation, you have shared with us few examples where some companies have been hugely fined and penalized for violating AML compliance. It seemed that most of those companies were financial institutions or banks. So I would like you to shed light on DNFBPs. What are these? Then I will go to my next question. So please shed some light on DNFBPs.
Okay, so DNFBPs are commonly known as designated non-financial businesses and professions. DNFBPs, which include few categories, which are real estate agents, lawyers and legal practitioners, gold and precious metals dealers, auditors and accountants, companies who are involved into trusts and corporate service providers. So these are the sectors who are included into DNFBPs.
Okay, which leads to my next question. So if a business that is operating in UAE or anywhere in the world where AML compliance is taken seriously, if they do not fall into the category of D and FBPs, do they still need to be compliant with AML or they do not need to worry about it?
No, here in UAE, only the DNFBPs are having applicability of AML compliances.
Right. Okay, so the
Of
next
course,
question.
banks and financial sectors are there, but when we speak about DNFBPs, these are the sectors that are having applicability of following AML compliance regulations.
So you mean other than the banks and financial institutions, these are the few categories that need to be compliant with AML regulations, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the next question is, if someone realizes that they fall under such category where AML compliance is necessary, so how do they need to initiate the process of this compliance?
Firstly, they'll have to understand their AML obligations. They can do this by reviewing their AML regulations in the UAE by themselves or by consulting AML consultants. Once they understand how AML obligations they are having, they can develop their AML compliance program, which can be tailored as per their requirement. And then they can ensure timely compliance with all the applicable regulations.
Right. Okay. So there are more questions. So I
Right.
have, yeah. So, but instead of asking all those questions one by one, I have arranged this special feature for our participants today. I shared an appointment booking link through our chat section. Anyone who wants to have a special one-on-one session with our AML expert, Ms. Chinar, can click to that link and they can book an appointment with her. Other than that, you can easily send us a request through enquiry@adamglobal.com or through WhatsApp. The number you can see on our screen, which is 545132808. So I am really thankful to Ms. Chinar Jitwani and to Ms. Chandy Joseph for giving us this insightful session about Adam Global's features and services and about AML compliance. So I request all of our participants to keep joining our upcoming webinar sessions and feel free to send their questions through emails and through WhatsApp. I've already shared an appointment booking link in our chat section. They can always click to that link and set an appointment. So this is Fahad Zia. I'm marketing head at Adam Global. I'm really thankful to all of you for sparing time and joining today's session. So uh, that's all for today, and we will anticipate your participation in our upcoming sessions. You can approach us through WhatsApp number, through email, or you can keep looking for upcoming events through our social media as well. Thank you very much for joining today's session. That's all for today. Thank you very much.